How to bet Game 5 of the Giants and the Dodgers in the NLDS. Sal Paolantonio from Philadelphia getting you set for tonight's showdown between the Buccaneers and the Eagles, and the return to blind bet, a bit that has gone disastrously for both of us. Welcome to Bet. Welcome to Las Vegas. He's Tyler Fulghum. I'm Joe Fortenbaugh. YouTube.com/ESPN Sports Betting is where you want to go if you're looking for some NBA coverage as we continue to roll out some season win totals.
Yep.
Are you surprised we're not leading with the Navy-Memphis game?
I am shocked. I am appalled, some might say.
Maybe it'll squeeze its way in. Maybe. But we've got a lot to get to, beginning with tonight's showdown between the San Francisco Giants and the Los Angeles Dodgers. And for that, we turn our attention to the technology. We turn our attention to the good word. Phrase is read. Whatever rattles around in that dome first, write it down and explain your thoughts. Are you ready?
Ready.
San Francisco Giants pitcher Logan Webb, who had 10 strikeouts in Game 1 of this series against the Dodgers, has an over-under of 5.5 strikeouts for tonight's Game 5.
That is an ambitious amount of Ks for Logan Webb in a game where it's do or die. We both know that. And Webb's been great at home, especially. Struck out 10, as you mentioned, in the first matchup in this series against this Dodger lineup. But when you're in a Game 5 or a Game 7, like you have here tonight in this Game 5 of the NLDS, the managers, Kapler and Roberts, are going to turn to their bullpens, and whoever is available will come in at the first sign of trouble. So it's really hard to go over or be ambitious with the over 5.5, despite what we've seen, because the first sign of trouble for Webb, he's probably going to get yanked for a bullpen arm.
Very well said. I will go ahead and deliver something along the same lines. Obvious. The over feels too obvious in this one. He had 10 strikeouts in Game 1. He has a career high in strikeouts per 9 innings this year, which I believe is 9.6. You set it at 5.5. A lot of people in the public are going to get excited, but Tyler's right. This isn't your average regular season game, right? You have a situation here where if things get dicey, they're going right to the bullpen because it's do or die. And this season, prior to that big showing against the Dodgers in Game 1, Webb averaged 5-point strikeouts per game in 3 starts against the Dodgers. That's not bad. But that's 5.6 in 3 regular season starts where they're going to leave him out there. And he had been pitching quite well.
Yep,
so we're asking for him to put up a big number tonight in a very tight situation. Keep in mind as well in this spot here, they just saw him 6 days ago. The Dodger hitters have got to make some adjustments. The good word, number 2. Brooklyn Nets All-Star KYRIE IRVING is currently 50-1 to win the MVP award this season. 50-1 for a guy who might not play.
That's why that wager is irresponsible.
Nicely done.
Let's just first take into consideration what would have to happen if Kyrie plays all 82 games or the entire season. He has to be markedly better than both James Harden and Kevin Durant on his own team. That team has to win 60, 65 games. And then, of course, he can't have any injuries or letdowns. So even if Kyrie does choose to get vaccinated and come in and can play, it's an irresponsible bet at 50-1 because those 3 are going to cannibalize each other if they're playing together. Now, if you limit it down to 2 of them, Kyrie and Harden, or Durant and Harden, then it's a more responsible bet on 1 out of 2. But betting 1 out of 3 with that specific trio, if all 3 play, which all 3 are not because I don't think Kyrie's budging, irresponsible 50-1 on Kyrie.
I will jump in with the following, which is patience. Patience. On behalf of the bookmakers, that is. A lot of people would look at this and say, the guy's not even going to play this season. How is he listed at 50-1? That's unfair. Well, wait a minute. What if they list him at 1,000-1 or 2,000-1? And then all of a sudden Kyrie Irving has a change of heart like Andrew Wiggins, and he decides to get vaccinated, and he shows up at the beginning of the year and plays 75 games. Guess what? Bookmakers are now on the hook for a bunch of tickets priced at 1,000-1 or 2,000-1. They're not going to take that risk. They're going to take their time. The season starts next week. They'll make their adjustments, but ultimately, I'm sure they're just fine hanging a 50-1 and taking either no action on it or some action. It'll probably be irresponsible, as my colleague led on to earlier. All right, let's move to the National Football League. The undefeated 5-0 Arizona Cardinals are 3.5-point underdogs for this weekend's showdown in Cleveland against the Browns.
I think it's a prime spot for these birds to get grounded.
Close.
Okay? 3.5 points, and it's steaming towards the Cleveland Browns because there are concerns about COVID around the Arizona team. They may not be 100%. Even if they were, I don't necessarily love the spot because although they're 5-0, Joe, the biggest weakness on this Arizona team is their run defense. And what does Cleveland do better than maybe any team in the National Football League? They run that rock, baby. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, a dominant offensive line. Even if Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham are out of sync a little bit, they can turn around and hand the ball 15 times to Chubb and 15 times to Hunt. And you have two all-star caliber backs in front of or behind a great offensive line against the, without a doubt, identifiable weakness on this Arizona team, their run defense. So in Cleveland, good home spot. It's supposed to be windy in Cleveland as well, which entices each team to run more, and that favors Cleveland. If it's going to be a more run-heavy game, I like Arizona, to be grounded and handed their first loss.
Very nicely done. 4 words, 4 letters.
4 letters.
Nice,
4 words.
simple.
That's not the name of the game.
Bang. Bang is in bang on. This is a great number. A lot of people are going to want to bet Arizona. A lot of people are going to want to play Cleveland. You put it right on 3, you make everyone happy. But then the Cleveland money comes in and moves it up to 3.5, which means if you want to play the Browns, you're not getting the best of it. Keep this in mind regarding Cleveland head coach Kevin Stefanski. 6-0 in his career as a head coach of the Cleveland Browns when coming off a loss. He has his team prepared to play the following week. But wait, there's more. 1-5 against the spread in those 6 games. They generally play bad teams with big numbers, and they don't cover. So there's some good and there's some bad. Ultimately, I'd be looking for Cleveland. I think you're right. Arizona is due for a loss at some point.
Yeah.
They've been very good, but this is a non-conference game coming off 2 huge divisional games. Eventually, there's going to be a letdown, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'd still take Stefanski over Cliff Kingsbury. All right, that's the football that's taking place this weekend. Let's move to some football that's taking place tonight. Lincoln Financial Field is the site as the Philadelphia hosts Philadelphia Eagles play host to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bucks laying 7, total of 52.5. Sal Paolantonio, ESPN NFL insider, is on location in Philadelphia at the Link. One of the biggest questions that people have been asking this week pertains to quarterback Tom Brady and that injured right thumb. For more, we go to the Link. Sal Pal, what do you got?
Nothing better than Thursday Night Football in South Philadelphia. A monster matchup between the ascending Philadelphia Eagles, fresh off their road win against Carolina Panthers, and Tom Brady, the leading passer in the National Football League, reigning Offensive Player of the Week in the NFC. Now, he's got that injured thumb. He had it wrapped during the week. He said he's been feeling some soreness. He injured it in the second quarter against the Dolphins, and in that game, in the second half, he had 3 touchdown drives, so he played through the pain. He said he'll have some pain and some discomfort, but he's expected to play in this game. The question is, will they run the ball more against the Philadelphia Eagles tonight? They don't run very often, and they don't run very well. The Bucs are 3rd from last in the National Football League in rushing on offense. Tom Brady leads the NFL in passing attempts. So this would be a stark departure if they were not to pass the ball more than 40 times in this game against the Eagles. I expect them to throw the ball against Philadelphia.
Thank you, Sal Pal. Let's make some bets. You're on the T-Box first. We're each going to make 2. You lead us off.
All right, I'm a couple of props leaning into what Sal Pal is saying there, expecting the Eagles to chuck that rock. Everyone's doing it against Tampa Bay. It's the cool thing, kids. Well, guess what? They only allow 2.9 rushing yards per attempt, and their defensive secondary is ravaged by injury and has been ineffective even when they were healthy, Joe. So let's start with Jalen Hurts, quarterback, over 281.5 passing yards. Of all 5 quarterbacks that have played the Buccaneers this season, at worst, they have gone 25 yards over their season average against the Bucs. So Jalen Hurts is averaging 273 passing yards per game. 25 plus 273 is 298. That's kind of the average, the baseline, and we're getting 281.5. I will go over that. In conjunction and in correlation with that, if Miles Sanders is not going to get used or be ineffective running the football, backup running back, the rookie out of Memphis, Kenneth Gainwell, who is the pass-catching back in that Philadelphia backfield, is the guy who I think will get the work there, over 23.5 receiving yards for Kenny Gainwell.
All right, I'll start with the side in this one. Philadelphia, give me the 7 points. Not a side I love in this matchup, but ultimately, these Thursday night games are incredibly sloppy. And as good as the Bucs have been, this is a big number to lay on the road on a short week against a team like Philadelphia, who very quietly, despite getting run over by Dak Prescott and Patrick Mahomes this season, still ranks tied for 3rd in the NFL in opponent yards per play. I think this is going to be a feistier, sloppier game than people expect, and Philadelphia is going to hang with them. Do I expect them to win? No. But 7 points is a ton to lay on the road, given all the issues that Tampa Bay is facing. Second play.
Well, I gave it away already. Kenneth Gainwell, if you didn't hear me the first time, I will reiterate that Miles Sanders probably not going to have his most effective or efficient day, and he hasn't been that great for the Philadelphia offense this season. So Kenneth Gainwell, who has kind of entrenched himself as the pass-catching back for this Eagles team, I think he'll get plenty of work against a Tampa Bay defense that's allowing a ton of catches to opposing running backs, unsurprisingly, is allowing every team to just throw on them at will. I think Gainwell at just 23.5 yards, that's a little bit too low because he might actually outsnap Miles Sanders in this game if they get behind and it becomes the pass game plan for Philadelphia, where Sanders is on the bench and Gainwell's out there getting the snaps.
You've got the props covered, I've got the side covered, and I've got the total covered. I'll go under 52.5 in this game as well. Like I said earlier, these games tend to get sloppy. Perfect examples last Thursday night. We had the Seahawks, we had the Rams, we had a total of 53.5. There's all this thought process as to why that game is going to feature a ton of points. And then Sean McVay forgets how to coach. Pete Carroll continues to not coach well in big spots with managing the game. Sloppy. Guys are hurt. Guys are banged up. It's a quick turnaround. It's a limited playbook. And you're coming out tonight with a Tampa Bay team that's averaging 41 points per game at home. This game's not at Raymond James Stadium. It's in Philadelphia. And on the road this season, Tampa Bay is averaging just 21 points per game. Like I said, I think slow. I think sluggish. There's a reason a lot of people are looking to the over, but the numbers come down from 53 to 52.5. That's somewhat telling, in my opinion. I will play the under. So, speaking of play, let's play a game. It's called Blind Bet. Here's how it works. Little crossover between The Price is Right and Let's Make a Deal. There are 1 and 2 props contained within these envelopes for tonight's Thursday night football game. Tyler's task will be to pick one of them. If he takes out the prop bet and he likes it, he sticks. I get stuck with the other one. If he doesn't like it, he passes it to me, like a showcase showdown, and then he has to accept the other one. Do you understand the rules of the game?
I think so.
We have both, I believe, passed as we rotate, and we've put ourselves in losing situations each time.
Excellent.
So stay tuned for what is likely to be another disappointment. All right, what do you want? One or two this week? Number 2 this week?
I would like number 2.
Good luck to you, sir.
Let's see what I got here.
Should be exciting.
Leonard Fournette under 3.5 receptions at a plus price of plus 105.
Old Lenny. This is not playoff Lenny, though. This is regular season Lenny.
He's not. You know, I actually am going to keep this.
Wow.
And the reason is, although Fournette has firmly entrenched himself as the alpha back there, Gio Bernard is back. And Gio Bernard is the pass-catching back for Tom Brady and Bruce Arians. So at plus money going under 3.5 as his target share kind of gets sapped, where he's got to split it with Gio Bernard, I like that. Because I think Fournette will do his damage with his actual legs, not his hands.
He's going to stick this week. That means I get number 1 by default. I love having no control over the situation. Makes for exciting times. Leonard Fournette to score a touchdown at even money. Why not? Why not, Leonard?
All right.
Go ahead and find that end zone against Philadelphia's defense. Fletcher Cox in the middle is a bit of a beast. Might be difficult to get it done.
I think we're both in a good spot here.
The thing is, when you bet the under, I don't want to root for anyone to get into the end zone.
I think we're both in a good spot here, though. Fournette is the guy who's going to be the goal line back. I mean, maybe Rojo swipes a carry for him, but I think the Buccaneers are going to score on your Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I think it's more than likely going to come from Tom Brady and his arm. And
what is the likelihood Fournette gets scratched right before the game and neither of these bets are action? That would be a classic Fortenbaugh Fulghum scenario right there. You know what? I'll tell you this. We're not laying big juice, right?
No.
If we're walking into a situation, we're going to go ahead and not lay any juice. Leonard Fournette to score a touchdown. Total's 52.5. Eagles have given up a few touchdowns this year.
Is this show sponsored by Uncle Lenny tonight? Why are both props Leonard Fournette props?
Leonard Fournette is the theme.
Did our producer go to LSU? She didn't go to LSU, did she?
Man, he was a beast at LSU.
Yeah, he was.
Thought that was easily going to transition to the next level. All right, that's blind bet. Now we move to the parlay to paradise, which was a flaming disaster last week. Tyler, good job at least getting one of them. Although you did play that one on Thursday night and you sunk the entire thing before we even got to the weekend. But
you got nothing right, so shut your mouth.
Had we gotten to the weekend, I would have gone ahead and sunk that ship twice. Brought it up from the bottom of the sea and sunk it again. Wow. Michigan State and Rutgers had 34 at the half and then stopped. The Chargers, Cleveland under, at least that one was done in the third. Like, there was no hang on.
I like that play. Regardless of the result, I like that play.
Doug steps in and delivers with the Buffalo team total over. Nicely done. So here is what we are going to do. You're going to lay out your 2 for this week. I'll lay out my 2. We'll bring on our special guest for his pick, and then we will rock from there. 5 picks. Try to make some money this weekend. Where are you going to go?
I'm told I can do both at the same time, so I will give you both here. I'm going to start on Sattersbin. Cincinnati Bearcats laying 3 touchdowns, -21 against UCF. Cincinnati is incentivized to not only win games, but win in style for the College Football Playoff Committee, especially since teams like Alabama have lost, Ohio State hasn't looked that great, all those things. UCF, not the team they once were, 1-4 ATS this season. Meanwhile, Cincinnati is 4-1 ATS this season. I think they put a hurting on UCF on Saturday. Then in pro football, I'm going to go play a high total and go over again. Kansas City Buffalo, I was over that last week. It worked out. Basically, if Kansas City's involved, I'm going to go over the total. Why? Well, Patrick Mahomes on one side. And have you seen their defense on the other side?
Terrible.
Yeah. And Washington, they're a team that similarly, they're not as explosive on offense, but their defense has been wildly unimpressive. Maybe one of the worst kind of expectation versus reality letdowns of any unit in the NFL this season outside of Kansas City. So both these teams 4-1 to the over this season. Both of them are 4-1 to the over, so I'll play over 54.5.
Hembo, who produces Get Up as well as Greeny's radio show, get a listen to this. So in terms of yards per play, the team that had the greatest yards per play for any single season was the greatest show on turf. 7.1 yards per play they average. Guess how many yards per play the Chiefs defense is giving up?
I think it's 6.9 or 7, something like it. And basically turns every offense.
It was 6.9. It's now 7.1.
Oh, boy.
It is exactly what the greatest offense of all time was. That is what the Chiefs defense is turning the opposition
every opponent this year.
Oh, that is terrible. That's a great bet because they can't stop anybody.
Let's parlay,
Washington.
baby.
All right, I'll start with college football. Laying the 13.5 with the Oklahoma Sooners. A lot of people will tell you this is going to be a letdown spot for Oklahoma off that Texas win. Not this guy. There are 2 reasons preventing the letdown. 1, this game kicks off at 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central. It's going to be under the lights in Norman. Packed crowd that's been tailgating all day. They're going to be ready to rock. Team's going to feed off that energy. Number 2, Caleb Williams. Lincoln Riley hasn't announced him as the starting quarterback, but he took over last week for Spencer Rattler, and he led the charge. 212 passing yards, 88 rushing yards, 3 total touchdowns. He was fantastic. According to the student newspaper at the University of Oklahoma, a kid that works for the newspaper was in a nearby public building watching practice and saw that Caleb was getting all the first-team reps. He reported it. Lincoln Riley banned everyone from media all week. That's how serious this is. TCU's defense is absolutely terrible. They're outside the top 100, the most scoring defense and opponent yards per play. I like Oklahoma to roll. Let's go to the National Football League on Sunday. Bears, Packers under 44 points. This game reeks of very little action, especially from the Chicago side. I know they got the big win with Justin Fields last week. Congratulations. It was nice. It was nicely done. But Chicago still ranks 30th in scoring and dead last in yards per play. The offense is abysmal. But the defense has played much better since that game against the Rams. Since they got blown out in week 1, they're only giving up 16 points per game. Here comes Aaron Rodgers. Tightly contested affair. I like it to stay under 44. Special guest.
Damian Williams, by the way, who was the guy who was replacing David Montgomery, put on the COVID-19 list, so they may be to their 3rd-string tailback in Chicago. And Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, they play at one of the slowest paces in the NFL. Like that bet.
And so do the Bears. Both teams bottom 7 in pace. No one's going to be in a rush. Nicely done. Kevin Connors, ESPN College Football Studio host, is this week's celebrity guest picker. Kevin, what do you have for us?
Hey guys, my pick for the parlay isn't the Buffalo Bills. It's not Army football. I don't know why you think I'd go there. I actually like the Pitt Panthers giving points to Virginia Tech in Blacksburg. Pitt's the highest scoring team in the FBS. They've hung 41 and 52 on Power 5 teams on the road already. Their quarterback, Kenny Pickett, might actually have value as a Heisman prop bet. 19 touchdowns, just 1 INT. Look, the Hokies emptied the tank a week ago in that tough loss to Notre Dame. Pitt won this game 47-14 last year at home. I think they may be the most dangerous team in the ACC. I like Pitt giving the points to Virginia Tech.
That is an excellent bet. Doug Kazarian, good friend of ours, host of Daily Wager. He is on that as well. So here we go. $100 plays almost $2,500. We'll take that. We'll put it all on black or red. We'll double our money. This place is essentially one giant ATM machine. We have still yet to hit one of these. One of these days
It's gonna happen, Gaskets.
Let's make some money on the diamond. Game 5 tonight from Oracle Park in San Francisco. It's the Giants and the Dodgers. The Giants find themselves as a small favorite, minus 111. Dodgers plus 101. Over under here set at 7. Little gamesmanship, some are claiming, as Dave Roberts, the manager of the Dodgers, made a pitching change. Julio Urias was scheduled to start. I'm losing the who's stepping in for him.
Corey Knebel.
Former Brewer. Corey
Yep.
Knebel stepping in tonight instead. So is this a bullpen game? Roberts apparently alerts Giants manager Gabe Kapler last night via text message that he was doing this. Why? I'm trying to figure that out. Why would you send him that message? Are you trying to mess with his head? You can't be doing it because you're just trying to be a nice guy.
No,
that doesn't exist anymore.
If you're doing it to be a nice guy, then shame on you. Some nice guys in a do or die.
Game 5.
Game 5? You kidding me? It's got to be the only logical or reasonable explanation is to mess with him a little bit, get in his head mentally, because I think the Giants are kind of in the Dodgers' head mentally. The Dodgers have been awesome all year long. All they've done is win and dominate the league at a historic pace in terms of their offense, their pitching, their bullpen. Yet, despite being that good, the Giants were one win better. The Giants have scored more runs in this series going back to the regular season, and they have the game deciding game of this series in Oracle Park, not at Dodger Stadium. I think this indicates that it's more in Dave Roberts' head. He's got to try something a little crazy to get at Gabe Kapler and the Giants.
Imagine winning 106 games and having to resort to tactics in the NLDS, not even the CS, because you're in a situation. I think that's very well laid out. So, how would you bet it? What's the top play that stands out to you in this game tonight?
Crikey. Well, now Dave Roberts has messed with my head because I had one pick before this news broke over the day, and now I've kind of come off that and changed. I will let you know that before, when I thought it was Urias versus Webb, two traditional starters, I was on the Giants run line first 5 because Webb has been so good at home and specifically against this Dodger team all season long. We saw him strike out 10 over 7 2/3 in the first outing. Now I'm just going to go to the total. Stay away from side.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. If it was Urias and Webb, whether it's Knebel backed up by Urias or Knebel, as the opener for a bullpen, who knows what's going to happen? But I think it's going to be hard to score runs for both offenses tonight because both managers will have, all hands on deck. Webb's been awesome, like I said, at home. I think he can go 4 or 5 innings and limit a Dodger offense. Then you turn it over to the bullpen, and we know the arms that the Dodgers have to throw at you. So I'm expecting a tight, classic, low-scoring, 3-1, 4-2 at most type of do-or-die Game 5. I think it's going to be a good, close game no matter what.
There's nothing that happens here that's going to shock me, right?
Right.
Tightly contested, either team winning. One team blows out the other team, whether it's the Giants putting the final nail in the coffin or the Dodgers finally waking up and getting past these guys. Nothing's going to be a surprise. My pick is going to run a little bit counter to yours. I am going to play the Dodgers in the first 5 innings here. I like the gamesmanship where Urias could be coming out of the bullpen, use a righty early, try to get through the first. Clearly the message is this. The Dodgers are going to micromanage the heck out of their pitching staff. And I like that when I'm getting plus 105 in the first 5 innings because of the Logan Webb situation. Now, Webb this year at home, including that one postseason start, has been fantastic. 7-0, sub 1.8 ERA. In 13 starts at home, again, including the postseason, he's allowed 2 or fewer runs 11 times. He's been fantastic. Dodgers just saw him 6 days ago. And I think they're going to get to him at some point tonight if Kapler leaves him in too long. And that ultimately is what this all comes down to. When is Kapler going to pull Webb, even if he's looking good? Do you let the Dodgers get him for a 3rd time in a row, given how good he pitched in Game 1? I don't know, but I think Dave Roberts made it clear they're not going to have to worry about those decisions. They're going to churn and burn all night long. The Kapler decision is going to be the key tonight. I'll play the Dodgers at plus money in the first 5 innings. Tomorrow night, Game 1, Friday, it's going to be the Astros and the Red Sox. Astros about a minus 120, minus 135 favorite. Coming back the other way, Boston plus 125. Total set at 8 here. Valdez is going to be pitching against Chris Sale. It's not Evaldi, it's Chris Sale. What are you thinking?
The Astros obviously been very impressive. Same can be said for the Red Sox. I'm going to isolate the first 5 innings here. I'm going to play on the run line, the home team, Astros. I'm going to lay the half run, and I'm going to make it a plus 105 wager instead of having to lay 135 over the full 9 innings. Valdez is a ground ball specialist. He can strike guys out, and the ball is always on the ground. And he's backed up by a great defense there in Houston. So I think he'll do his part. And then Chris Sale has not looked the same as Chris Sale in recent outings. We know that offense can mash, especially against lefties. Houston has a top 4 offense in average, on-base, slugging, and OPS this season versus lefties. And with Sale not looking quite the same as we're used to, I think that offense will jump on him early.
I'm going to dip into that analysis as well. I'm going to play over 8 runs here for 2 reasons. Valdez, who has been solid this year with a 3.14 ERA, saw that number jump to 3.94 in the month of September. And again, when you're talking about lefties, the Astros can mash them. Chris Sale's going to be in trouble. But the Red Sox hit lefties very well, too. 11th in home runs, 2nd in weighted runs created, 8th in weighted on-base average. It's even better for the Houston side of the equation. I think both lineups get to both starting pitchers in this one. 8 runs, I think it gets to 8.5 by the time this game starts. We're playing 8.5, or excuse me, over 8 in this matchup. College football to close the show, as we do each and every Thursday. 2 marquee games we want to focus on. Let's start with the Georgia Bulldogs, who make their way into this show every single week. They are laying 21.5 points against the undefeated Kentucky Wildcats. Games in Athens, totals 44.5. How would you play it?
Yeah, and that spread is coming down. It was 23.5 to start the week, but obviously Kentucky getting some respect from the bettors, and I think that's fair. I'm going to stay away from the side, even though Georgia is 5-1 ATS this season. I'll attack that total. I'm going to go under 44.5. The reason being mostly has to do with Georgia's defense. They are outrageously good. Maybe the best unit of any unit in all of college football. Offense, defense, special teams. The Georgia defense might be the very best unit. And Kentucky, while good on offense, doesn't have that type of firepower that makes me think anything other than bet on Georgia's defense. So Georgia, I think, will only need to score 24 points to win this game. If that's the case, under 44.5 seems like a good bet to me.
Pay the over on amount of times Tyler would say unit in that analysis. Unit. Get one more in there as well. I'll play the under. 44.5. I'm going to play the under on this one. Georgia, we all know the stats about how great the defense is. Number 1 in the country. They're giving up 5.5 points per game.
That's out.
It's not like they played 2 games and they got to that number. They are midway through the season. Now, the thing that people don't realize, though, is Kentucky. Their defense has carried them to the 6-0 record. They're 11th in the country in scoring defense and 11th in the country in opponent yards per play. That's how they get the job done. You might look at Kentucky's offense last week against LSU and say, well, they hung 42. Maybe they can get something going against Georgia. I don't think so. The week before that, they had their stiffest test of the season defensively against Florida. They only scored 20 points. All right, not bad, but that's at home and it's against Florida. This is on the road against Georgia. Much different beast, under 44.5. Texas, the Longhorns, are they back? Not after last week and that choke job against the Sooners. They're laying 4, total of 60 against the other Oklahoma power, Oklahoma State.
Yeah, this is moving towards Oklahoma State. I was on the Texas side. I guess I'll remain there so we can have consistent graphics, but that's concerning. That's certainly concerning. Will they wilt under that letdown from last week where they should have beat Oklahoma and kind of had a stranglehold maybe on the Big 12 Conference? Perhaps. I think they'll bounce back. Bijan Robinson, obviously great. If I looked at the total, I'd maybe play over because that's what Steve Sarkisian Texas Longhorns tend to do. But I'll lay the 4 because I do think Texas is the better team with the more explosive offense, the more explosive unit on that side of the ball, Joe Fortenbaugh. So I'll go with the Longhorns, but I don't love it with the way this has been steaming towards Oklahoma State.
The old graphics handicap. Perhaps the first time in history I gave it the handicap based on lower thirds on your screen. I will play Oklahoma State in this game. A note to your total that you were mentioning. Opened 65 and was immediately bet down to 60. A 5-point move instantaneously. Nelly. So there was some under money. This game opened Texas -6 and is now down to 4. Give me the underdog here. Huge letdown spot coming for Texas, in my opinion. They had their arch nemesis on the ropes. They were up 21 after 1. They were up 18 at the half. They were up 11 going into the fourth, and they lost by 7 in overtime. They didn't even cover the damn spread. They still found a way to miss the cover as well. Oklahoma State, very quietly, is undefeated.
Yeah.
And they've got a really good defense they're bringing to this game. 20th in scoring defense, 17th in opponent yards per play. Some would say Oklahoma State's numbers are propped up a little bit. They did beat Boise State, who's okay this year, but I think Texas is headed for a big letdown. Give me the Cowboys plus the 4. A lot of action coming up.
Yeah, Thursday Night Football, Major League Baseball. I can't wait.
Tyler
Get me out of
Fulghum,
here.
I'm Joe Fortenbaugh.
My
We will
weekend.
see you Sunday morning right back here for the NFL show, 12 noon Eastern. He's out of here. We got business.